How's it going, you excellent bunch of bakers? Hope you're having a fine day so far. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I have hearty whole wheat subs for you, so let's get in the kitchen and get started. My recent cheesy white sub recipe turned out super delicious, and that crispy cheesy crust was something extra special. But I do need to step back sometimes and make equally as delicious healthy counterparts to those types of recipes. So here we have seeded 50-50 white and whole wheat subs. They are soft and bouncy and full of complex flavors, and you can customize this recipe to your taste. Swap the seeds for other ones, play around with the flour ratios. I went with the cold bulk fermentation method this time. It just fits my schedule so much better, but you can certainly make these on the same day. You'll find the instructions for that in the written recipe. Now let's move on and see what we need to make these bad boys. We need some whole wheat bread flour, white bread flour, yeast, salt, some sweet syrup. I'm using barley malt syrup, but you can use honey, an egg yolk for making the bread extra soft and bouncy. We use the leftover egg white for glazing. We'll also need some butter. We'll need some water to bring it all together, and we'll need our seeds. I'm using a mix of fennel seed, caraway seed, dill seed, coriander seed, black sesame seed, white sesame seed, and poppy seed. Pretty much all the seeds that I had at home, and like I said, you can use any seeds that you want. As for the equipment, we need a tray with some non-stick baking paper, a bowl, scales, a dough scraper, a temperature probe, a brush, and a whisk will also come in handy. Okay, let's begin by making the seed mix. Combine all the seeds in a small bowl and mix them together. Then set a small pan on your scales and pour half of the seeds in the pan. One half of the seeds will be toasted, will be mixed into the dough, and the second half will be used for topping. Toasting is of course optional, but it does bring out a lot of flavor, so you should definitely consider doing it. It only takes about 2 minutes on high heat and makes a huge difference. Once the seed mix becomes nice and fragrant and smoky, it's ready. Grinding the seeds is also optional. If you're going to do that, you'll need some grinding device like a pestle and mortar or coffee grinder. And here you can choose how finely you grind them. If you leave the seeds whole, then when you eat your bread, when you bite through them, you get a burst of flavor. But if you grind them to a fine powder, the bread will be flavored equally throughout. I like to go the middle route. Not quite powder, not whole. It gives me the best of both worlds. To get even more flavor out of the seeds and to make the subs even softer, I decided to use the scalding method. Many of you will be familiar with this, but if you are not and you want to learn all about it, you can find a full video about it in the Principles of Baking playlist. Here's how we're going to do it today. We'll mix the salt, the butter, the syrup, the toasted seeds, also known as bread spice, and a portion of the whole wheat flour. And then we'll add boiling water to it. This step will not only make the bread softer, but will make it stay softer for longer. You want to whisk it up well, then leave it to cool down. It'll take around 3 hours at room temperature, but you can pop it in the fridge or even in the freezer, like I did. It took less than half an hour in the freezer. All I had to do is mix it a couple times along the way. I actually ended up cooling it down a bit too much. This will lower the final dough temperature for me, which for cold bulk fermentation is not the best thing. The dough needs to be slightly warmer in order to ferment effectively in the fridge, but there's a simple solution to that, and I'll show you in a minute. For now, let's continue mixing the dough. Add the egg yolk, the yeast, and the rest of the whole wheat flour to the scald, and then whisk it all in. And then finally add the white bread flour, grab your dough scraper, and mix it to a dough. After mixing, give the dough a fold and place it in a clean bowl and take its temperature. If your dough is at least 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit, you can place it in the fridge straight away. But if it turns out a little bit cooler, like mine did, then just leave it out at room temperature for the first 30 minutes before folding it. And if you want to skip the cold fermentation and ferment your dough at room temperature, bulk fermentation will take around an hour and a half. In which case you want to fold it halfway through bulk fermentation. That'll be 45 minutes in. Okay, so let's cover up the dough, leave it to sit for 30 minutes, out at room temperature or in the fridge, and then fold it. Instead of dusting dough with flour, placing it out on the table, I prefer to fold it up in the air and wetting my hands with water to prevent the dough from sticking to them. You can go either way of course. Okay, once your dough ball is nice and tight, place it back into the bowl, cover it up, and place it in the fridge for the long cold bulk fermentation of around 18 to 24 hours. Or you can leave it in there for longer, or take it out sooner, it's up to you. On the next day, it should look kinda like this. Nice and puffy, nice and big. Now we can move on to weighing it, dividing it, and pre-shaping it. This recipe makes 3 large subs, so I'm dividing the dough into 3 equal pieces. You could also use this dough for making burger buns, in which case I would suggest dividing the dough into 4 pieces. But of course it's your bread, you can make it as large or as small as you want to, or whatever you decide to do. After dividing, you need to pre-shape the dough. We need to turn these random dough pieces into dough balls. So take a piece of dough, flatten it, and then fold the edge over the middle whilst going around in a circle until you reach point where you started. Then flip it smooth side up again, tighten it against the table, and then finally you can pick it up and pinch the seam to get at the bottom. You should end up with a nice round dough ball. After pre-shaping, the dough balls must be left to rest for 15 minutes. This will give the gluten a chance to relax, which will make it easier to shape these subs. And just 15 minutes later, it's final shaping time. The shaping process is pretty simple and pretty easy. Dust your table lightly with flour, dust the dough ball too, flatten the dough ball into a disc shape, then take the top third and fold it down, then turn the dough 180 degrees and repeat the same step on the other side. And then turn it one more time and repeat the same step once more. Then pinch the seam together, pinch the ends together, and roll the dough out to the desired length. I rolled it to about 20 centimeters or around 8 inches long. It will get longer and wider as it's fermenting and baking, so you must make it a little bit shorter than the width of your tray. After shaping your subs, arrange them on your non-stick paper lined baking tray. Give them plenty of space in between. I like to flatten them slightly to increase the top surface area, which will allow me to add more seeds to it. If you want your subs to be taller and rounder, don't squish them. Okay, these guys are ready for the final proof. It took me around an hour and a half. If you do room temperature bulk fermentation, it might just take 1 hour. You want them to be nice and puffy before you bake them. So if your kitchen is cool and they're taking longer, just let them continue to rise. Start preheating the oven towards the end of the final proof to 170 degrees Celsius, 340 Fahrenheit, fan on. And that'll be 190 Celsius or 375 degrees Fahrenheit if your oven doesn't have a fan. Okay, my dough looks nice and puffy, it's ready for the oven. There's just a couple of things left to do. First we'll gently brush them with the egg white, because they are quite fragile at this point. And then we'll give them a generous sprinkling of seeds. Carefully press the seeds into the dough using your hands. This will really make them stick. Okay, finally these guys are ready for the oven, so let's get them in there. They'll take around 25 minutes to fully bake. But it may take longer in your oven, or it may take less. Just keep an eye on them towards the end of the timer. Once you're happy with the color of the crust, they're ready. If you want your subs to be darker, there's no problem with that. Just bake them for longer. It's not that easy to overbake bread, but there you have it. That's why I make beautiful whole wheat subs. These things are quite special, thanks to all the seeds. They add such a great flavor. Bread spice is one of the best things you could add to whole wheat bread. But in this case, we didn't just add the bread spice to the bread, we also sprinkled it on top of it. Double the bread spice for double deliciousness. Don't forget that you can get early access videos by clicking the join button on my channel. And to check out more cold fermented recipes, head over to the cold fermentation playlist. Find all the things I use in my Amazon store link down below. And if you're still here watching, please give me a thumbs up, it really helps out the channel. So what do you think of these whole wheat subs? And have you tried my cheesy subs? Let me know down in the comments. For more videos like this one, click over here. Subscribe to the channel, click right here. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next one.